Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadha Srivasati.
Hare Krishna. My name is Latika. Welcome back to our Bhagavad-gita series. And we are today in the second chapter of Bhagavad-gita, which is contents of the Gita summarized, it's called. We're reading Bhagavad-gita as it is, translated and with purports of His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada. Yes, I will read this verse in Sanskrit. Nahi prapasyami mamanupadyad yachhokamuchoshanamindriyanam avapya bhuma vasapatnam riddhang rajang suranam apichadhipatyam. Oh, Arjuna is speaking here. This is the dialogue between Krishna and Arjuna before the battle of Kurukshetra is taking place. So here Arjuna is bringing up his doubts. I can find no means to drive away this grief which is drying up my senses. I will not be able to dispel it, even if I win a prosperous, unrivaled kingdom on earth with sovereignty like the demigods in heaven. Purport. Although Arjuna was putting forward so many arguments based on knowledge of the principles of religion and moral codes, it appears that he was unable to solve his real problem without the help of the spiritual master, Lord Sri Krishna. He could understand that his so-called knowledge was useless in driving away his problems, which were drying up his whole existence, and it was impossible for him to solve such perplexities without the help of a spiritual master like Lord Sri Krishna. Yes. So this grief, this socham, this suffering, sometimes we are able to live pretty much on the surface of our lives. We're surfing on top of the waves and life seems to be uncomplicated and maybe a little bit superficial also. And then sometimes we are struck with situations where we do not find a solution. We only find that grief. We only find that emptiness. And we handle it in different ways. There are many ways to attempt to become free from grief and suffering. I think, there is even a rather large state that has it as part of its declaration of the human rights, the right to strive for happiness or something like that. So we can strive all we like, but if we don't know where happiness comes from and if we don't know where the suffering comes from, then we may not be very successful. So here Prabhupada comes back to the point here in the beginning of the second chapter. The point here is that Arjuna, after bringing up his doubts, after finding that he was unable to solve the problem, he turns to someone who is able to solve the problem. And that is the spiritual master. When the problem is the meaning of life, then we do not go to the supermarket and buy some solution, and we do not find it in the popular music or something like that. We do not turn to drugs. We cannot even, through humanitarian works, we also cannot really solve the problems. We can make life a lot better, and it is of course better to be good than to be bad in that sense. But the real problem is deeper than that. Yes. Academic knowledge, scholarship, high position, etc. are all useless in solving the problem of life. Help can be given only by a spiritual master like Krishna. Therefore, the conclusion is that a spiritual master who is 100% Krishna conscious is the bona fide spiritual master, for he can solve the problems of life. Lord Chaitanya said that one who is a master in the science of Krishna consciousness, regardless of his social position, is the real spiritual master. Kiba vipra kiba nyase shudra kene noi, ye Krishna tattva veta se guru hoy. Yes, we're trying. Chaitanya Charitamrita is written in Bengali. Bhagavad-gita is written in Sanskrit. And of course, this is not my native tongue at all, but it is very, how to say, it's very helpful to be so close to the text that we even try to learn a few words, learn to understand a little bit the power of the original spoken word. It does not matter whether a person is a Vipra, learned scholar in Vedic wisdom, or is born in a lower family, or is in the renounced order of life. If he is a master in the science of Krishna, he is the perfect bona fide spiritual master. And then this is from Chaitanya Charitamrita in the Madhya, in the middle part, chapter 8, text 128. So, without being a master in the science of Krishna consciousness, no one is a bona fide spiritual master. It is also said in the Vedic literature, Sat karma vipunya vipro mantra tantra visharadaha avaishnavo gurur nasyad vaishnavashva pacho guruhu. A scholarly brahmana expert in all subjects of Vedic knowledge is unfit to become a spiritual master without being a Vaishnava or expert in the science of Krishna consciousness. But a person born in a family of lower caste can become a spiritual master if he is a Vaishnava or Krishna conscious. Yes. Because we are dealing with different things. Also, sometimes we hear about spirituality that we don't need to read any books, we don't need to accept anybody's teachings. We can just, in a spontaneous, intuitive way, find our way to God, because God is everywhere. And of course, God is everywhere. That is true. But we have been living in this material world for so many lifetimes, actively avoiding Him, and He has been giving us that, that ability. He hides Himself because we wanted to try living life without Him, and then when we turn back to Him, we are rusty in that sense. We don't exactly know how to do it. It is a natural thing. Prabhupada says that it's this Krishna consciousness is not an artificial imposition on the mind. It's not something we add on top of ourselves. It's something that we do find in the heart. But the process to find it in the heart, of course we can try. We can try to use intuition and to follow our heart and so on. But when we have access to somebody who can give us that knowledge, why not accept it? That is actually one of the definitions of knowledge, humility. That we understand that we are not so great. We don't know everything, and we may not be able to even find everything out. So the intelligent to do is to take help, to take guidance, to take to utilize that which is given to us. So in this matter, the spiritual master, that is such a thing. A spiritual master is not a whimsical thing. It is not a, we are not recommended blind following. First, you have to have a little bit of knowledge, because otherwise you can accept anyone. I was just reading a small little thing that happened when Prabhupada was here on the planet. He left the planet 1977. And before that, he was traveling the globe and giving Krishna consciousness, training up his young, new disciples. And this took part in India. And somebody brought a mango, and he asked one of his disciples to cut the mango, distribute the mango. And this young boy, he took a knife and he started to cut the mango. And he made a mess out of everything, and there was juice dropping everywhere. Mango is a very juicy fruit. Very nice fruit, but if you don't want to serve it in such a messy way. And there was a lady, part of the group, who was more familiar with mangoes, and she's kind of, she knows how to do this. So Prabhupada said, so give it to her. So she took the knife, cut it in two parts, turned it inside out, and kind of used the peel as a plate, and cut it in pieces like that. And then Prabhupada said, yes, even for cutting a mango you need a spiritual master. You need someone. That's not a spiritual master, that's a material thing. But you need somebody who has the knowledge and they can give it to you. Then, of course, we bring in our heart, we bring in our intuition, we bring in ourselves as that conscious, intelligent person who is looking for the absolute truth. We're also part of it, but we're not alone. We don't need to be alone. That is actually a big part of Krishna consciousness. we're not alone. Krishna is there, the spiritual master is there, and we can, actually, ideally, we can practice Krishna consciousness in the company of like-minded souls. The problems of material existence, birth, old age, disease and death, cannot be counteracted by accumulation of wealth and economic development. In many parts of the world there are states which are replete with all facilities of life, which are full of wealth and economically developed, yet the problems of material existence are still present. They are seeking peace in different ways, but they can achieve real happiness only if they consult Krishna or the Bhagavad-gita and Srimad Bhagavatam, which constitute the science of Krishna, through the bona fide representative of Krishna, the man in Krishna consciousness. Yes. Prabhupada is stressing this point because it's a point that is sometimes easy to overlook, because sometimes we want to overlook it, because it is all right to look for knowledge, it is all right to turn to God, because it's a little bit removed from us. But when we come to a person and we accept them as our teacher, as our spiritual master, and we place ourselves as the disciple in front of them, this is a big step. This takes some actual serious humility, and it takes some sincerity that we're serious with our spiritual life now. This is not just a hobby, this is not just a belief. This is a spiritual path that we will walk every day for the rest of our lives. I became very serious there. Of course, you are welcome as a listener to take this in, to think about it, to study it from different angles. You don't have to start immediately with this surrender, but it is such a significant part of the process of Krishna consciousness that it's brought up early, it is stressed, and it is described. So it is important to understand the spiritual master, the first quality. Of course, Krishna, he is God himself. But in general, a spiritual master is representing God. So the most important quality of the spiritual master is that he himself is a disciple. That person has himself taken that step of coming in humility and learning from his spiritual master, and therefore he can continue the chain of disciplic succession to the next generation, because he is not seeing himself as the master, he sees himself as the servant. And he has accepted that Krishna consciousness in his turn, and therefore the process works. And also it works because Krishna set it up to work. If economic development and material comforts could drive away one's lamentation for family, social, national or international inebrieties, then Arjuna would not have said that even an unrivaled kingdom on earth or supremacy like that of the demigods in the heavenly planets would be unable to drive away his lamentation. He sought therefore refuge in Krishna consciousness, and that is the right path for peace and harmony. Economic development or supremacy over the world can be finished at any moment by the cataclysms of material nature. Even elevation into a higher planetary situation, as men are now seeking on the moon planets, can also be finished at one stroke. The Bhagavad-gita confirms this. Kshine punya martya loka vishanti. When the results of pious activities are finished, one falls down again from the peak of happiness to the lowest status of life. Many politicians of the world have fallen down in that way. Such downfalls only constitute more causes for lamentation. Therefore, if we want to curb lamentation for good, then we have to take shelter of Krishna, as Arjuna is seeking to do. So Arjuna asked Krishna to solve his problem definitely, and that is the way of Krishna consciousness. Yes. So that is the central point. The central point here is we're dealing with something that is eternal. We're dealing with something that lays at the core of existence. So many other things, we can have different interests, we can have different inclinations, and we can solve many problems in that sense. The point is, as long as we're in this material world, any amount of problems that we have solved, they will come back to us. We take birth, we die. We take birth, we die. We get old, we have diseases. These things they keep coming back to us unless we can come to that platform where that problem is solved once and for all. Yes, and we're speaking here about heavenly planets, which to some of us is a foreign concept, but the Vedas speak about it, and most cultures actually around the world, previous to the present dominating monotheistic religions, also speak of those beings who are more powerful than us and who live somewhere else and who come down, and sometimes they meddle and sometimes they fulfill desires and sometimes they fulfill some function in the universe. And the Vedas describe the devas, the demigods, as inhabitants of the higher planetary systems, as persons who have a position in the universe, who are very powerful. And it is possible to go to those planets. I think we brought that up at some of the other times. But the thing is, even if we do that, we follow the Vedic instructions, we're very structured, and we know how to take our next birth in a heavenly planet. When our good karma runs out, we come right back here again, because it doesn't solve the original problem. It doesn't bring us back to our original spiritual consciousness. Yes, so this is the verse where we step into that mindset of opening our eyes to the problems in this world and seriously and sincerely looking for a solution. And if that's where we are at right now, then Bhagavad-gita is the book for us. Thank you very much.
Thank you for watching. We aim for updates every Tuesday and Friday. Please come back. If you have any questions or comments, please leave them down there. We also have some links and information for you. And there is, of course, the subscribe button. Thank you. Hare Krishna.
I'm a Hare Krishna, and I approve this message. Subscribe.
Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Juta Padakamalang